all of these issues and challenges affecting the brands and retailers that are actually importing these products from China or from Asia?
It's very interesting because it's sort of category specific. We talked a lot about this and saw a lot on the news about Amazon and Target and Walmart basically prioritizing certain categories. Amazon basically stopped receiving everything non-essential for a while. So if you happened to be selling soap and sanitizer wipes, obviously huge explosion of business. Garments are on the other end of the spectrum, struggling because people didn't go out, people didn't shop. We have the back to school season coming up, and nobody's sure if they're going to go back to school. So if you're selling backpacks, it's very tough right now. If you're selling kids clothing, it's very tough right now. But if you look at the numbers that Amazon, Walmart, and Target are reporting for their quarterly financials, they're all doing really, really well. So it really depends on which stores you're in as a merchant. There's one of the reasons that Target and Walmart did so well is because they stayed open, because they happened to sell essential products. They stayed open, and while people were there, they bought everything else that was not essential because they had no other choice. They couldn't go to other stores to buy non-essentials because those stores were closed. So it's a little bit of a artificial sort of reason and just an indirect benefit to the stores. So if you were in those stores, you probably did really well. If you're selling some interesting categories, like backyard toys or school supplies that kids needed at home, you probably did really well. If you think about the back-to-school categories and then just school supply categories, and this is one of the reasons Amazon keeps changing their their policies about receiving these categories, is because it's very hard to tell, and even data analysis doesn't necessarily show you the right results. If you think about it, both backpacks and, let's say, pens and pencils are in the same category, right? They're school supplies, but because schools are closed, backpacks aren't selling. But because people are now largely homeschooling their kids, they're still buying a lot of things that they would buy if the kids were going to school. In fact, they're buying things that they wouldn't buy if the kids were going to school. Like, think of all the whiteboards and blackboards that have been purchased in the last 2 months. Those who would have expected that, right? And they fall in the same category. So if you're Amazon, how do you allow sellers to basically stock those items at FBA and not stock products that are not going to sell just because they're in the same category? That's why you're seeing them lift restrictions but limit the quantities they would allow. Okay. Definitely very, very interesting change happening.
Yeah, and it sounds like it must be a challenge for a lot of the retailers and brands to keep up with all this. Awesome. All right. Thank you again so much, Robert. I really appreciate your insight into this, and I think our audience will as well.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Mike.
All right. Thank you, Robert.